Burgess, brilliant! Mule with it, Wood's got round the back, and Richie Wood has done it again! The magic man has come up with another trick! Well, here's a chance to seal it, it's done! It's Georgie Kelly! Rotherham United's pathway back to the Championship is opening up!
Hello everybody, welcome back. This is New York Talk, the Rotherham United podcast, and we have another fun game to talk about. We have another fun one to talk about at Tuesday night against West Brom. We'll talk about that, and we'll look ahead. Plymouth Argle on Saturday afternoon, which I'm sure will be another fun afternoon. Tonight is just me and Danny. How are you doing, Danny?
I'm doing all right. I just want to apologise for any background noise. I am still at work. They've given me an hour off just so I can come and do the podcast. So the noise you can hear is the cooler in the cellar. That's where I am. And I hope you all appreciate the commitment I'm doing because this cellar's haunted as well.
Yeah.
So if you just see someone like reappear behind this wall behind me, just spam the comments about it. But I'm here. Let's get on with it and talk about another loss, shall we? Full times.
Yes, another loss. So this is a Tuesday night game against Swansea. No, West Brom. We already lost to Swansea already. Yeah. Liam Richardson's first game in charge. We mentioned on the interaction, Danny. You used the word, it was confusing. And it was because we, as a setup, we weren't bad. We were pretty solid. Defensively did all right. But we were never going to, we could be playing now in that same system. We still wouldn't have scored. It was that kind of game, weren't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it was tiny. We described it as confusing for us. But yeah, in the first half, we were set up quite solid. You know, West Brom couldn't really find a way to break us down. We just sort of held them at bay and limited them to, shots from distance, which were very, very poor. But at the same time, going forward, we were just so flat. There was just nothing there at all. There were no outlets at all for us, and I think that shows the one man up top, regardless of who it is, doesn't work because there's no outlet for it. And yeah, it was just so limited going forward. Like you say, we could have been still playing now, and we still wouldn't have scored. I don't think, but at the same time, I don't think West Brom would have scored more either. Because their first goal comes from a mistake and a massive deflection. And the second goal is just an absolute piece of quality, which is something we have to expect in this league. But in that regard, the football was flat going forward. The atmosphere was flat as well, because I think we were all just nervous about what was going to happen. But defensively, bar one or two bits from Dexter, I thought we were all right.
We definitely were. I thought it was one of Morrison's best games for us, to be honest with you. It was in the classic see it, head it, and kick it mode. And that's kind of what we need at this point. We need that leadership to just put your head on the end of it. And Hacks followed suit, and Bramwell followed suit. That kind of thing defensively did rub off on the team from a defensive setup, and that was a good thing. But it just took away too much. But defensively, it was bad. But there are still some positives to take out of the game, and that's what we're going to try and do.
Yeah, we might be clutching at straws a little bit.
Yeah.
But I thought, like you say, I thought Morrison, even though the job he did wasn't a complex one, he still did it well. And I also noticed that Morrison liked to get quite high up the pitch as well, and it's like, hang on, senior centre-half's going on a wander, it's turning into FIFA this. But at the same time, Adolphin slotted him perfectly and covered him, and I couldn't fault it for that. Like you say, I think even though he played a back four, three of them had good games. I think Cohen was off the pace, set piece wise a little bit, but in terms of making runs forward and trying to push the game forwards, he did all right. We just never found him. And I think the one player who didn't really perform the best was Dexter. I think he just looked a little bit out of his depth, I think. And that's no disrespect to him. He's a new manager. He's gone on loan to a club that's now gone through 3 different managers, if you include Wayne Carlisle. So he is going to be a bit all over the place. But at times he did really well. but at times he also did really poorly.
Yeah. We'll come back onto that in a minute. Let's go through some comments. Richard Brown says, didn't the team try to impress the new boss? New boss bound, not at Rotherham. Shelley says, 2 mistakes from us. First one, we kicked straight to him. And the second, our body goal was shocking to concede. Yeah, I can't argue that. How much of this was on Wayne Carlisle and how much of this on Richardson? Richardson had been in for like a few minutes or whatever. So who are you putting on where? You know what I mean? If that makes all sense.
Yeah, sort of. I get what you're trying to say. I think certainly the team I think went out to try and impress Richardson. They tried to go out and say, I deserve to be in the starting 11, which is what you do when you change jobs anyway. You know, I've changed jobs and I've tried to impress the manager and then realised, actually, I know one already, so it doesn't matter. You know? But, yeah, I don't really think we can pin it on Richardson per se, other than the fact they tried to impress him. Because, like you say, he only had what felt like 5 minutes with the team. I don't think he took a training session before. Or if he went around, would he only watch and he'd take it himself? But the defensive solidness is something that we've looked at Richardson teams before and praised. You know, when Wigan came last season, they were very solid defensively. So maybe Wayne Carlisle's tried to instill a little bit of that in them during the training session. He's got a brief. Who knows? You know, we might never know. But at times it very much felt like, you know, the Matt Taylor, Wayne Carlisle orientated way of playing, with just a little bit of Richardson sprinkling on it. So, yeah, personally, I'm not going to pin it on Richardson. I'll say that. I'm not going to pin it on him. I think anyone who does pin it on Richardson has juggled them massively. I think it's just a mix of the two, trying to impress the new boss whilst playing an old method, whilst trying to learn a new methods as well. So it's just a bit up in the air, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. What I did notice, and I don't know if you noticed this, Danny, was when during the game, I noticed Richardson was constantly giving instruction, and obviously it wasn't his team, but he was constantly saying one thing or another. He was dragging Morrison over, dragging Hacks over, dragging other players over. So there's obviously he's trying to imprint himself on the team initially, but I can imagine how difficult it must be because he's not picked the team. We'll come back to the team selection in a minute because that needs talking about. But you can see there is a will and a want of Richardson to try and implement something, but it was too soon. The appointment was poorly timed, I suppose. But I mean, we had to get it done over the line. But we maybe needed an extra, even just a day would have made a difference, I suppose, wouldn't it?
Yeah. We've been saying that for the last 4 weeks. Like the appointments come at a poor time. It should have been 3 weeks. They should have been an international break, to be fair. In an ideal world. But I think that's just the sort of manager Richardson is. He's constantly giving instruction. You know, he'll see where the holes are that need plugging and he'll give the instruction to the players. I thought it was very brave of him in the second half, I think it was, where he called over Ollie and it might have been Morrison, potentially, where he called them over to the other side of the pitch from a throw-in or a set piece or whatever it was. And it's like, can't this wait until afterwards? You know, can't this wait? Like, they're about to do something here. But those little bits of instruction is something we saw from Matt Taylor early on. You know, I seem to remember Matt Taylor being out with the notebook all the time, early doors. But then it sort of disappeared and it went quiet. You know, and he only really gave instructions when he needed to. Whereas Richardson, at least in the West Brom game, was sort of just tweaking the players all the time. You know, giving just a little bit of instruction all the time. But then when he didn't need to do anything, he went and sat in the dugout to watch the game properly. I do like that style of management, that little tweaking of things, but not massive tweaks. You know, it might be a little simple instruction of stand up to him a bit more, that sort of thing. But yeah, I just like Richardson. I hope he sticks it out because I like his style of management, and I think he's more honest in some regard as well. Honest in a political way, though.
Yeah, fair. Right, we have, shockingly, Mick. Mick's made an appearance. Yeah, again, another tardy going on the record. But how are you doing, Mick?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right. I've been busy at work. I'm really sorry.
You sound like you've been working for about 3 months straight.
I feel like I
tired.
have. I don't feel like I've eaten for about a week. But anyway, there you go.
You could have eaten before coming on, but we appreciate the effort.
Yeah, well, you've got to try.
Yeah, people mention the sound. We're working on it. It's a work in progress, so bear with us. We're doing the best we can. Mick, general thoughts on Tuesday. We've not talked into any real specifics yet, but okay at times, rubbish at times. Just an odd night.
Yeah, it was. It was a hugely disappointing result in the end for me. I've tried to keep away from social media since the game, which has not been that easy, to be honest with you. And when I have gone on there, I just feel like I'm a lone person. We've just sort of gone absolutely ballistic at the performance, and I don't think we were that bad defensively. We made 2 mistakes defensively in the game, both of which led to goals. The first one is just, that's what happens when you get at bottom. That ball wouldn't have. Victor got it covered had it even reached him. You know what I mean? Before it took the deflection, and the second one, nobody's stopping that one. But they both came from mistakes. Nice to see Lembakisa getting called out from a pig to a dog by everybody, but nobody calling out Sean Morrison for making the same mistake. But hey, I get frustrated. The game, we were there. They were there for the taking. They were as bad a side, or it's as bad a performance as I've seen from a side this season down at New York Stadium. They offered nothing. I mean, obviously they won the possession stats by a country mile, and they get the extra point for that. I think, but in terms of creativity, in terms of goal threat, with the exception of the 2 that they scored, they offered nothing. Danny were in more danger stood behind goal than the back of the net was. So that's what's frustrating about it for me. Defensively, like I say, I thought we were reasonably good apart from the 2 mistakes and the deflection. Going forward, we offered nothing at all. And that is a legacy, I think, of the Matt Taylor regime, where we just don't want to put ball in box. You've got Jordan Hugill up front who will create problems if you give him the ball in the box, and we don't. And we haven't done all season. And for me, that's where the issue. The first thing to say, is the first thing for the new manager to address: get the ball in the box. So, yeah, frustrating, disappointing, but in no way is it anywhere near as bad as some of the comments have been on social media. For me, in my view.
No. I agree. Jan Bieber says they were at a canter. That's right. Yeah, from their defensive point of view, the defenders won't have an easier game, but they were difficult. We made it difficult for them going forward. That's all makes sense. I thought.
Yeah.
John Morell says he had a West Brom fan who says that it's one of the worst they've played all season. He wasn't obviously complimentary. Which is fair. Completely fair. It just shows this league, doesn't it? They were bad, and they are in the playoffs. Like Rick has just said, West Brom was so bad for 5th place. That blows my mind. But anyway,
it gives an indication, as we've said many times in this league, the difference between top and bottom is minuscule. Because had you watched that game on Tuesday night as a completely independent person who knew nothing about the leagues and tried to guess the league positions, you'd probably guess bottom and second bottom. Yeah, you know what I mean? So anyway.
Yeah. Right, let's talk about let's go on. Let's keep on the Dexter situation. Ian Bradley says the Dexter, the fullback that can't defend. He has come in for an incredible amount of stick, Danny. And I have sympathy for him. And my sympathy is that he shouldn't be playing at the moment. He needs taken out the firing line and he shouldn't be playing. The problem is because we've signed Lee Peltier or kept Lee Peltier, which I think we should have done. Dexter, your other right back has to play essentially every other game. So we don't have the opportunity to take Dexter out of the firing line and just say, have 3 weeks off. Come to train, obviously. Come to training, get your head right, get yourself in the right position. You're a kid. You need to learn. This is a learning experience. We can't do that because Peltier's got to have a game off, and he just needs taken away for a few weeks. And I feel so sorry for him that he's still having to play.
Yeah, I agree, because like I said, Peltier played that position, but an article's come out today asking if Peltier is going to retire at the end of the season. So like you say, he needs that game's rest, or a minimum. He can only really do a maximum of 90 minutes and then a first half potentially. Until Dexter would have to come in anyway. I don't think Appiah would suit playing in the right back position because he's more of a going forward player, but at the same time, Lemekisa is as well. He's not as defensively orientated as, say, Cohen Bramall or Seb Revan is. In an ideal world, we'd have kept Kyoso and then we could have swapped and changed them both, which might be something we explore in January. We'll have to wait and see. I know a lot of people have drawn parallels to the Curtis Tilt situation with Kyoso, but you never know, he might come back and really like Richardson and push on. We'll have to wait and see. You won't know until he actually calls him back. But it just feels like the best way I can describe it is just a bad time for Dexter. Like you say, what he could do with just getting on the training grounds, getting his head right, getting his confidence back about playing in the system, and then going again. And hopefully Richardson is the one to crack that code, because I don't think Matt Taylor or Wayne Carlisle did, which is a shame because Taylor signed him. And I just want to apologise if there's any feedback as well, because every time a pine gets pulled upstairs, everything starts clicking behind me because it's gas going in the lines. So I apologise for that in advance, by the way.
Right. We're doing his best.
Yeah.
John Morrell says, is the second half of the show Danny doing a cooking challenge? Any challenges? Is that where the food lives as well, Danny, or just the beer?
No, it's just the beer. So everything behind me is just pure kegs and ales, and then there's just tonic water behind me, and then this door on my right hand side, that's where all wines and soft drinks and stuff are kept. I'm not doing the podcasting there because it's 100 degrees or so in there. I'd just be sweating. So I'd rather be cool in here. If we run out of things to talk about, I can take you on a tour of the cellar if you like.
That'd be more entertaining than talking about Rotherham United, to be fair. Make thoughts on Dexter. This is, I don't know, what are your thoughts on what I just said? I think that's the issue, that he's got to play. There's no alternative, that he's there and he's got to play, and that's the end of it, really. And that you've surely got to have sympathy for that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. This issue stems back from Matt Taylor's dislike's not the right word, not fancying Peter Kyoso, which I still find remarkable. He's now out on loan and we can't get him back until January. Whether he'll want to come back after the treatment he's had again on social media, who knows? He'll have to, obviously, but whether we're going to get the best out of him, we don't know. Dexter is a 19-year-old kid. He's a kid. He's a child almost. He's only just a man. He's only just an adult, and yet he's getting called out and called out and called out. He's an adult who's out of touch a little bit. It's his first full professional season, as far as I can recall.
Yeah.
And he's been thrown in at the deep end at the Championship. And when he's playing well, everybody's saying he's the best thing since sliced bread. He loses a bit of touch, he loses a bit of form, which he's going to do at that age. And all of a sudden, he's the worst player ever to play for a club. I find it infuriating, to be honest with you. And if anybody thinks that in any way that's going to make him play better, the mind boggles, really. Leave the kid alone. Leave him alone. He is a good player. He's a quality player. He will be a quality player, but he's 19. I agree with you. At the moment, he needs to be taken out of the firing line, just to regain a little bit of confidence, regain a little bit of form, and sort of just reset a little bit. Unfortunately, because of the lack of cover in that area, that's not going to be easy. It's going to mean more games for Lee Peltier, etc. Whether he's able... Lee Peltier, I'm sure, will believe that he's able to do it. The issue with that is it just strips any pace at all out of that back four. So that's a conundrum for the manager to address. But I feel for Dexter. I really, really do. He's an absolute quality footballer, no doubt about it. But he is a kid, and all these pelters he's getting everywhere are going to affect him. It's inevitable. But we just keep doing it anyway. I find it very, very frustrating.
Yeah. John, from a club who always near the top, including academy players during a season, young players will always be inconsistent in form-wise. That's just how it is. If it was our player, he'd be getting the time, he'd be getting the space probably from the fans to make these mistakes. Because he's a loanee, the standard for loanees is much higher, isn't it? That's the thing. Whenever you bring a loanee, they must be better than what we've already got because we've signed them on loan from somebody. And obviously that's not been necessarily the case with Dexter, that we are developing him for somebody else, which is frustrating. Shelley thinks that he just needs an arm around the shoulder. We forget he's a very lad. The place hasn't been great lately, let's face it. There's that as well. And also, I know it's great that he's playing international football, but he's having to go away to international football. He's not even getting 2 weeks off in the international break.
No.
To, again, have a week off, go relax, and then get back into it. He's constantly having to play. He's a professional footballer. He probably still loves it, but you know what I mean. Let's go back to the starting lineup. Danny, again, this is Wayne Carlisle and Dan Green. We assume has picked the lineup, but for the life of me, I cannot understand why Sam Nombe didn't start that game. You could even have put him out wide instead of Appiah or Bramwell or whatever you wanted to do. Blew my mind, and it was shown to be correct because as much as Mick says, right, Hugill does a job in certain circumstances, we were asking Hugill to run the channels and things like that, and it was just absolute madness. We were crying out for Nombe just to stretch their defenders a little bit and just try and do something, and I can't work out why he can't, a 25-year-old lad or whatever he is, can't play 3 games a week, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I agree. I think the only justification we've got for Hugill starting was it's against his former club at this point. Because Nombe had done really well in the games prior, he seemed to be growing into his role. And we saw in the second half exactly why we should have started him. Because he was stretching. I have no idea what that noise is, by the way. But he started stretching the defence straight away and, like I say, running the channels, getting in behind. The ball never found him, but that's what we should have been like from the first minute. You know, when we had West Brom, you know, quite at arm's length defensively wise, we should have had someone like Nombe running the channels, disrupting the defence to push us on in the game, and we might have had a little bit more luck going forward, so like create a few more chances. Because Hugill very rarely created a chance at all, because he was just waiting for the ball in the 6-yard box and not really running the channels. But he's not that sort of centre forward. You know, he's the wrong centre forward to be playing in that system. Whereas someone like Nombe, who can nip about a fair bit on that front line and be left wing, right wing, in the middle, and just swapping and changing with everybody, that is the player that we needed. And that's the sort of player that will suit Richardson's system as well. So that I was very, very surprised not to see Nombe. I don't know whether it was a slight knock or what. We've not heard anything about it. Hopefully we've seen the error of that selection and Nombe starts against Plymouth.
John Morrell says, I'm impressed that Danny's boss is happy to pay him to talk about football, or is this the longest barrel change known to mankind?
I can answer that as well, to be fair, because one staff member just hasn't turned up, one new staff member hasn't turned up. My manager asked me if I could work until close tonight, which is going to be midnight, which is going to be fun. And I said, I can do, but I need an hour for the podcast and I can't miss it. And he's gone, yeah, that's fine, don't worry about it. So, thank you, Jack. I'm being paid to talk about football whilst I'm at work. Happy day.
That is now a professional. That's what it means.
Well, I'm like a sort of professional. I'm like a semi-pro. I'm doing a different job while still being paid for it.
Yeah, absolutely. On the Nombe situation, Mick, I understand the Bramwell situation. I understand we're putting Bramwell in that attacking side of things. But we saw in the last 20 minutes of the game that Nombe did play out wise and did very well, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, and we talked about this. How many weeks ago did we talk about putting Nombe as a wide man just because he has got some attributes that could help with that kind of thing?
Yeah,
Put Appiah out left because he's left-footed and put Nombe out on right. Even if you want to play Hugo, that's great. But then you've got those two out-and-out wingers because Bramall does a decent job, but he was making runs at the wrong time. He was just doing everything wrong at the wrong time because he's not a winger. Whereas Nombe has that attacking idea. So even if he's not going to play him as a central striker, Nombe had to play either way for me.
Yeah, he did, and he had to play up front, in my view. I understand why Jordan Hugo played. I get that. I understand that. But if you're going to play him, you need to play up front because he needs some support up there. And he didn't get any of it at all. The ball just bounced off him. So it was a tactically it wasn't right to do that, to play Hugo or drop Nombe, should I say? Why you would play him in a position that's not suited to him, or he's not his natural position, I don't get that. You're more than capable of putting him where he should be playing, which is up front. I like Cohen Bramall out on the left. I felt sorry for him because I don't agree with you. I don't think he did make runs at the wrong time. I thought the runs that he made were absolutely right. And every time he made the run, the player in possession of the ball looked at him and turned away. He was never given that opportunity to run in behind. And it was perfect that game was set up for him. A couple of balls over the top to Cohen Bramall and we would have been away. And each time he made the run, we turned away. And it just feels like the tactics that we've been playing all season there has been no progressive play. Very, very little progressive play, with the exception perhaps of the Birmingham game, where we did create chances, we did get forward, we got the ball forward, and we kind of attacked Birmingham, particularly in the second half. There seemed to be no attacking intent at all last night. That's not true, but very little. Oh, sorry, on Tuesday night.
No, I think very little is being kind. Were there any?
Well, very little, very, very little. And it's tactically, I think, is half the battle here. We just seem to have no intention of putting that ball forward, So, yeah, I thought Nombe should have started, definitely. It's arguable whether Jordan Hugo should have started, and I can see why he did with it being his own team. But the bottom line is you've got to get the ball forward. You've got to get the ball forward.
Yeah, we have. Ryan says Hugo doesn't press from the front like Nombe did. No, he didn't. It was a lot on Rathbone, so you don't press, but he can't on his own.
Hugo hasn't got the pace.
No, he hasn't. No,
that's not his job. His job is to be in the penalty area, receiving the ball, and he's never in there because we never get far enough forward for him to do it. He will score goals. We know he will. He's a goal scorer, but he's going to do it in the box, and we're not putting the ball anywhere near the box. And that's the issue. But that has been the issue for game after game this season. And it's a legacy of what Matt Taylor was trying to create, but either wasn't able to, was unsuccessful at, or just couldn't do, however you want to describe it. And if it continues, then we will go down with less than the whimper that we've created already. If we change it, who knows?
Yeah. Kelly Bob said we didn't lay a glove on them, unfortunately. I'm sure I saw they keep having one of Tony Stewart's cigars.
Yeah.
He might as well have done, to be honest. Nyambibba says Nombe, the one diamond that comes out of Taylor's sinking ship. Looking that way. Ironically, all his best games are after Matt Taylor left, which is odd. But that's where we are in life and football. Ian Bradley says, can anyone tell me what Appiah brings, because I'm confused? He's one of those players, Danny, I think, that's an old-fashioned winger that is great when he's on it. I can't remember what game a couple of games ago. He had a few moments. I think it might be Birmingham, actually. He had a few runs which were brilliant. He took the game to their defenders, and it was really good to watch. The last two games, at times he might as well have not been there. And again, this is a waste of a loan. Might be harsh, but I'm expecting better. The level we expect of loans is higher, and Appiah's not hitting that sort of level I expect from a loan player, sadly. Even though it was hyped up and everything else in the summer, he's not quite hit the heights that we expected.
Well, I think that goes for most at-loan players, to be fair. Excuse me. But against West Brom, it almost was like Appiah had a completely different job. Because he didn't leave their number 3 alone. I was surprised he didn't go into showers with him after the game. You know, he just didn't leave him alone. And this is something that I've drawn parallels with Richardson's previous way of playing, is that it's more man-marking based. It's man-marking and high pressing. And we saw a little bit of that with Appiah. And when he followed their number 3, we were very, very solid on Appiah's side. And they never really got any danger down that side. It's only when it started to go a little bit wrong after their first goal, where Appiah almost seemed to be caught in 2 minds: do I stay with the number 3 or do I defend? You know, we're a goal down, we don't want to be any more. And that's where I think it all fell apart with Appiah, because he just got confused on what job he was doing. Because we were trying to go further forward, so he didn't know whether to push forward or stay with their number 3 when in the defensive situations, but then no one was covering their number 3 without him being there, and then they were getting overlaps on that side. And I think Appiah just got caught out against West Brom. He didn't know what job to do. But when he knew what his objective was, which was to stick with their number 3, they were very good at it. And then I thought going forward, it was also quite good until the second half. And I think this comes back to what we said at the start. The performance as a whole was just confusing. It felt like a Richardson performance in the first half and then a Matt Taylor performance in the second half, where no one really knew what the jobs were. But I think Appiah did the job he was told to do well in the first half, but in the second half he didn't know what job to do, so he didn't do it really anything, I think.
Yeah. Somebody put on here, where is it going about Appiah? Appiah, Chile says Appiah had a ball a few times in the second half, screaming to run at them. He just turned inside it. Is it a confidence issue? He's left-footed, and we're playing him on right-hand side. So if he goes and takes the man on, he's almost got nothing to do then, because he's on the byline with no right foot. Again, from the brief we've seen him. So I assume it's just I didn't understand. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. I don't know, just don't understand. David Hope says, a big concern regarding lack of performances coming from Rathbone. Rotherham don't play well when he's not on it. Need to get him playing again. He ticks, and we have half a chance against anybody. Yeah, this is one of the oddities of the season, Mick, for me, to be honest with you. Because last 2 seasons, it's been with Rathbone plays, we are in the game. One way or another, we are in that game. And for some reason, Rathbone's dropped off. And I don't know whether that's just the system he's been asked to play and it's just really not suiting him. Whether he's playing with the sort of the lead on a little bit, or whether the contract situation's still ongoing, and maybe that's we saw it with Ben Wiles last season with the transfer stuff and everything else. But for one reason or another, Rathbone's not ticking, as David's put, and when he doesn't tick, we don't tick, and that's been so obvious this season.
I think he's been asked to do too much.
I agree.
I think that's the issue. He's now got Jamie Lindsay alongside him, but they're not really playing alongside each other. They're playing in front and behind each other. He can't. He needs Jordan Hugel. He needs somebody up front who's also going to join in that press. And Jordan Hugel, with the best will in the world, is not able to help him doing that. So he finds himself doing it on his own. He's not ticking. You're right, or he's not. I think he's probably, his performance level is there, but the output is not quite. If that makes sense, I think he's making the same runs, he's doing the same pressing, but unfortunately, there's nobody helping him, so it's not effective or not as effective. It's all very worrying. I'll be honest, all of it.
Yeah. I agree. Simon Thorne with a positive, which we like. Sam, he says, I like him, Revan, more and more. He settles in. Yeah, I thought Revan was decent on Tuesday, whenever it was.
Listen, and that arrangement with Revan and Bramall on that left-hand side, I really like, because they overlap. They both know what they need to do going forward. They both know what they need to do at the back. The problem with it is that there seems to be an attitude across the whole of the team where getting that ball forward is not what we want to do. we don't. We're so many times, as somebody just mentioned in the comments there. You know, we had a bit of a forward run, and we turn back inside. And it's like we want to play a bit of possession-based football, but we don't. We're caught between between two minds and end up just losing the ball and going backwards. So we need to be more progressive, and I think that's what Liam Richardson has said, certainly in his first interviews, that he's wanting to get more penetration into that final third. We're not doing that. We are just simply not doing it, and haven't been for weeks and weeks, and that's where the problem lies. For me, anyway.
Yeah. Rob Turnest agrees. Thought Revan and Bramwell were okay on the left, but we need strength on the right. He says also need to gamble. Also need to gamble with more forward passes, knock it down the channels, and work the opposition.
Yeah.
Not to Jordan Hugill though,
No,
because he ain't going to work the channels. He can't do that job anymore. I mean, not been able to do it 3 or 4 years ago, but he can't. That's not his role right now. He can't do it. So
get him in the box and give him the ball.
Correct. Kelly Pubs also mentioned interestingly with the training ground yesterday. They normally have a day off. Yeah, I like that. Read Liam Richardson. It wouldn't have been an old-fashioned. You're doing 50 laps at training pitch and then take a cold shower, and get off home. It would have been meetings and talking about the situation, and hopefully getting a bit of a feel-good factor back at the club, because that's what's missing. Well, one of the things that's missing is a bit of positivity. The title of the show is there a way back? Ian Bradley says no. Danny, we're 8 points adrift. We're still 8 points adrift. The midweek games didn't go against us, which is even more frustrating because a win would have been perfect. But we're 8 points adrift. We've got Plymouth away, we've got Leicester away, then you've got Middlesbrough and Sunderland at home. Then becomes the January transfer window. Talk to me about the season, because we feel it's slipping away. And that's a kind way of putting it, that it's slipping away. It feels like it's so far away from anywhere it needs to be for me at the minute.
Yeah, it's like, it almost feels like one of those dreams where you're trying to catch something, and the more you run, the further away it gets, and you're just still. But for me personally, and I said this on Radio Chef before the game, I'm still a quiet optimist that something could happen, because football's a funny old game. We've seen teams get out of worse situations. We've got out of worse situations. All right, fair enough. It's a borderline miracle if we were to stay up and be safe before the last game of the season this season, because of like the 8 points and then still being in the fight, barring other teams picking up form as well. Which I think the only danger to that is probably QPR really picking up, because I don't think Wilson Wednesday will. But I'm still quite optimistic that something could happen. We still have time to turn it round. It's not like we're 8 points adrift with 4 games left. We're 8 points adrift with 24 games left, is it? 24, 25 games left-ish?
25 now, I think.
Yeah, 25-ish. Yeah, call it 25 games left. So there is still a quiet optimism that we can do it. It'll take a massive effort, don't get me wrong, and I think Richardson understands that. However, it's still possible, and whilst, to quote the old thing, where there's a will, there's a way. It's just a question of, do we have the will to do it? Do the players have the will to do it? Does Richardson have the will to do it? Do the fans have the will to do it? Based on the atmosphere Tuesday night, now, because I think we're so scared of just dropping away, that everyone just goes quiet. And I think now with Richardson, it just takes that one little spark, and the fans will be up for it. But then when the fans are up for it, the players will be up for it, and then that just keeps going round and round in a circle, and you can pull it off. I think a lot of people have buried it already and gone, now we're relegated this season, we'll just get ready for next season. But it's like, no, we've still got a transfer window and another 5 months of the season to go. So I'm still a quiet optimist. Call it optimism or call it stupidity, whichever it is, but I'm still hopeful that something will happen. And if not, I just hope we finish on Wednesday. That's still a little win, isn't it?
Fair enough, yeah. Everybody says there's no hope at all. You don't get 8 points back when you are literally anywhere in the league to keep 3 teams below you. Mick, where are you on the scale? Is it done and dusted? Start planning for Shrewsbury, or is we still got plenty left in the tank?
I'm completely the opposite to what Yambibi has said there. Completely opposite. I mean, I don't agree with it. With 25 games in, what's that? 75 points to play for. You know, it's just no. I mean, history tells us probably that teams in this position don't get out of it. It also tells us that some do. So why you would give up hope at this point in the season is not. It doesn't comprehend with me. It doesn't. It just doesn't make any sense to me because there's so many points to play for. But the performances have to improve, and they have to improve very, very quickly. The points need to be started. We need to start putting points on the board very, very quickly. Or if we don't, obviously, then that hope gets less and less and less. I'm neither positive nor negative, to be honest with you, because part of me thinks no, we'll probably not get out of this because history says we won't, and then the other side of me is saying, well, there's so many points to play for. So I don't know where we're at the moment. I need to wait and see what effect Liam Richardson has on the team, but vitally what effect he has on the way that we play and the way that we approach games, and couple that with when is Humphreys back, when is Blackett back, when is Cafu back, you know, and the other players that are injured as well. So it's entirely possible. Of course, it's entirely possible. There's no way I'm going to write it off, and I won't write it off until it's mathematically not possible, because that's the way to do it. I mean, why would you? I don't want to depress myself any more than I have been after seeing some of these performances over the last few weeks. You know what I mean? We can still do it. Of course we can. Of course we can. So no, I'm not writing it off at all. I don't. It's just it's all about opinions, isn't it? But I don't agree with that. I don't think we're down at all yet.
No, I think it's good to. I said on Gab Sutton's show last night that I think it's going to be very, very difficult. I don't think we're down, but I think it's going to be very, very difficult. All we want is to have a go. That's all we're asking for. Let's just have a go. If it's not good enough, do you know what? So be it. But let's see that positive. Let's see try and put the opposition under a bit of pressure. Let's just have a go. If it's not good enough, so what? We move on. We'll be back at Championship in 2 years' time, probably anyway, because we know that's how it works. So, but just to have that will to try and win, and we're not having that. That's what we didn't see on Tuesday, weren't it? There wasn't really a will to win in the game, particularly.
And that's the key. I think that's absolutely the key for me. That desire to win the game hasn't been there probably in any of the games this season, even the ones that we've actually won. You know, the ones that we've actually won, for me, it feels like, and I'm not saying that is the case, but it feels like we've kind of won by default just because we've managed to, we managed to score a couple more. But the desire, the fight, the absolute sort of single-mindedness to win a game doesn't appear to be there. What appears to have been there is the desire to try and implement the tactics that they've been told to implement, and that will then, the manager obviously felt that would then lead on to the wins, but it didn't. It didn't even come close, and I think that's where Liam Richardson's work has to focus. It has to focus on the psychology of it. We need to win this game. We're not here to just stay in it and hopefully get something out of it. We're here to compete. And I think it feels to me that, and you look back at the previous regimes, that some of the comments that Matt Taylor made in some of his interviews, and it felt like he was approaching it from the point that he didn't think that we were good enough to do it. Yeah. He felt that we weren't good enough, and therefore his tactics reflected that. In that, we'll try and stay in the game and nick something. That is absolutely, for me, in my opinion, the wrong approach to it. But the performances on pitch have reflected that. If we attack these teams, we may well still go on to lose, but by not attacking them, we lose anyway. You know what I mean? We're capable. We are capable. The squad that we have is capable, and I've said it right from minute one of this season. Is more than capable of stopping this division. Absolutely, I have no doubt about that whatsoever. but you've got to approach the games in the right way, and we haven't, and it's been that lack of desire to win for me.
Yeah. John says only takes a couple of, dare I say, lucky results to turn a season around, so never lose up. That's the point, innit? If you try, you can pick up a couple of dodgy results and off you go. Ryan says that's the only thing we can do. We give it a go. I think Richard has the capability to do just that. But I agree with me. We've got to approach this game with a positive mindset. Jamie says he misses League One. Miss that winning feeling almost every week at home. I know what you're saying, Jamie. I get that. Matt as well says hopes were right. Alas, he thinks we're in fantasy football and not sure what they are seeing to give us hope, even with the players come back. We haven't seen anything to give us hope. It's just the Liam Richardson effect. I think we're pinning. That's all we can do, isn't it? Just pin something on something. And the Liam Richardson effect is what we're trying to hug, basically.
We're looking at a changing approach to games. Changing how we approach these games for me. But yeah.
Let's move on. Anything else, Danny? Make anything else from the West Brom game? I keep forgetting we played, to be honest with you.
Yeah, they were that forgettable, weren't it?
It was, sadly. Right, moving forward to Plymouth Argyle, 7th best home record in the division. Our away record is, well, we all know what our away record is. We all know where it is. But Danny, this is Liam Richardson's first proper game in charge. I know it was charged, but he's had. They'll travel down on Friday, so they'll have had 2.5 days with the training with under Liam Richardson now. What do you expect? And I know that's a really tough question because we don't know this kind of thing. But are you expecting a Matt Taylor kind of stay in the game and hope for the best, or are you hoping we'll just go and try and bloody their nose maybe early on?
I think it'd be a lot to ask to suddenly change Richardson's tactics from the get-go, because obviously it needs a bit of time to be learned. But I'd like to see more high pressing of the ball, really going after him, not standing still, because at times we stood still against West Brom, and it really hurt the crowd going, just get to them, but again, no one really know what we were doing. But I hope at Plymouth we really get in the faces and start high pressing the ball. I hope we start Sam Nombe and we have him supported in the high press. And I don't think they'll like it, personally. I don't think they'll like if we do the high press on their home patch. And it's one of them where it's like, to approach it Matt Taylor's way and just hope we stay in the game. So that means that it's the wrong way to approach football. You have to approach football with winning the game, because it's a winning-based sport. So if we approach the game to stay in it, we won't. Simple as that. If we approach the game to try and get a goal, get in the faces, and really press them, if we concede whilst trying to do that, fair enough, we'll have to have a change of tactic. But if we do that and we don't get a goal and we get a draw, fair enough. If we do that and we get a goal and we upset them, also fair enough. If we combine the solidity of the first half against QPR with a high press, A, that's basically how Richardson lines up his team, so also B, it has the bones to be effective. Whether it will be in our case, we'll have to wait and see, because like you say, Richardson's not really had a chance to implement it fully, but I'd like to see more little sparks of it. I talked about little sparks at the start of the season. We've had sparks throughout the season, we've just not got going at all. But a lot of that centralised on not using the midfield and not pressing the ball. We've now got a manager who does that. So I'd like to see the little bits of Richardson ball, if you like, starting to shine through against Plymouth. But at the same time, I'm not too fussed if we lose it, because it's still not enough time to bed in his tactics completely. Give it until Leicester, then maybe. But then again, it's Leicester at the top of the league, so just go and press the ball. That's all I ask. Press the ball. Get fans excited about it. Don't stand off anybody, because the moment you stand off them, you give them time to properly think and pick and pass. If you're pressing them, it goes on instinct. Where they're going to put the ball. If they don't have the natural instinct, or they can't think quick enough, then they make a mistake, and you can pounce on the mistake. If you give them time to think, they won't make the mistake. And we've allowed teams too much time on the ball by not pressing them. And I just don't want to do that against Plymouth.
Yeah, I hope so as well. The home form, as mentioned, is very, very good. There's only Ipswich have scored more home goals than them this season. More than Ipswich, more than Leicester and Leeds that they've scored. Their conceded record's okay, not special either way particularly, but yeah. Mick, same question to you. What do you want to see? Is it the same thing Danny just mentioned? Just a bit of bite about us, maybe.
I want to. I just want to see something different. Is what I want to see to the way that we approach the away games. We've gone over it and over it and over it over previous podcasts of what we don't want to see. So we just want to see the opposite of it. I'll be interested to see what impact he's managed to have over the 2 or 3 days and the run up to this game since Tuesday night. I don't expect to see a massive impact, but I'm curious. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm honest with you. I just want to see a bit more progressive football. Get the ball in the box, or certainly get it into the final third. I don't start fanning about with it at the back. Just get it up there, and let's see what happens. So I'm just curious. I'm curious to see, but I want to see some fight. I want to see some fight because we've seen very little in any of the away games this season. So we'll see.
Yeah. We haven't seen anything. We got 2 points so far in a row this season. We can more than double it with a win. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? We've got 5 points, 5 away points. I can shave.
Absolutely.
Danny, how big is this game? We're 8 points adrift, and John mentioned in the comments earlier that everybody plays each other down there this season, this weekend. There's a lot of teams playing each other. How big is this game? Had we had some positive results, we were saying it's Plymouth away. It's a tough game. If we get something, that's great, but it's a tough place to go. Now we're sitting here saying that we've lost the last 2 at home, and we're sort of saying, well, we've got to get something at this point, and especially with Leicester next week as well.
Yeah, in that regards, it's a really important game. I'm slightly going to contradict myself by saying if we lose, it doesn't really matter because we're just still bedding his tactics in. But at the same time, in the course of the season, with everybody, like I say, with everybody sort of playing everybody else down our neck of the woods this season, that makes it an important game, which might put greater emphasis on disruption-based high press. If Plymouth are scoring all the goals this season, bar Ipswich, then it's just disruption. They'll let them play if they want to play. I'm not saying it's a case of just going out just to sabotage them. It's going out and not giving them time on the ball to play how they want to play, and you do that by high pressing. If they play around it and you've got the defensive solidity, then fair enough. That's we saw that against West Brom in the first half, defensive solidity. So if you combine the two, then might get a goal. We'll have to wait and see if we want the front foot. But I should put this down for my score prediction as well, if you like. I do have visions of it being a 0-0 again.
0-0. Okay. Highest home scores in the division, 0-0.
Yeah. That'd be a good result for us, to be fair.
I imagine we've got the worst away conceding record as well. Let me just double check that for us. We've conceded 25 goals away from home this season, which is comfortably the worst. Only closest is Sheffield Wednesday and Birmingham. They've both conceded 20. So 5 worse than everybody else's. The bottom 6 all play each other this weekend. So the go on.
Yeah.
Wickham, Millwall, Huddersfield. Millwall host Huddersfield. Plymouth host us, and QPR play Sheffield Wednesday as well. Big weekend because if we lose Saturday, there's at least 2 teams picking up some points, isn't there? At least 2 points. Yeah, potentially all 4 picking up at least a point. So one of the quirks of the footballing calendar that picks itself up every so often. Let's do. Danny's done his goal prediction. I'll take 0-0. I'd be shocked if it's 0-0, but I would half take that. I don't know. I'm not sure actually. Mick,
2-1. Yeah.
It's going to be goals. I can't see it being a 0. I could see a 3-2 or 4-2 kind of game. I will go 4-2, but to Plymouth, sadly. I think we're going to go for it. I think we'll be positive this season, but this on Saturday, sorry. But you just never know. You just never know. Just get some. Imagine if we get an away win just before Christmas. Imagine how better we'd all feel on Saturday if we come away with 3 points. You'd feel like the whole the world's been lifted off your shoulder. I'm not convinced it'll happen, but just imagine that we're at that stage in the season, in terms of the season, where imagining a win is as good as it can get at the minute for us. The win itself almost feels too far away. Just the thought of the wins.
Mad,
yeah. Harry says 2-0 to Plymouth. John Morrell says 2-2. I think it'll be a nervy game. Jamie says 2-1. Ryan says, I think we'll be in the game, but he thinks we'll lose 1-0. Ryan says 3-1 to Plymouth. Ambua says maybe going to be 1-0. Steve Gundy says 2-2. Martin Mills says 3-1 to Plymouth. CJ says 0-0. Charlie Shelley says, do we think if Luncheon would have come in the international break, we'd be in a better position? This 4-week delay could potentially be the nail in the coffin. You're probably right. There may be a conversation for the end of the season for our season review. But I suspect you could have hit the nail on the head there, Shelley, to be honest with you. Rix asks how many we're taking. Well, we've done the scouting report. What I do know is that Plymouth have started selling tickets in what is normally their away end. So not many. To be honest with you, if there's more than 200, I'll be half surprised, to be honest with you. Who's the referee? Oh, Mick, do you know you've had a really tough, long, hard week at work? You need cheering up, don't you?
No, I know referee is, mate. I know. But on the upside, whilst I still haven't and will probably never ever forgive him that Barnsley game, I'm not going to say it anymore. You know what I do. You know what I was about to say, so we'll say nothing more.
We got just for anyone that doesn't know, it's Gavin Ward. I was saying Grant Ward. Gavin Ward is the referee. Strangely enough, it's worth mentioning that our record under Gavin Ward recently is actually okay. We have a surprisingly good record under him, other than the Barnsley game, obviously. So that's worth just bearing in mind. It probably means nothing. They've also announced the referees for the next 2 games as well. I don't know if you've seen the referees next Saturday, Mick.
Are you going to chin me up in for? Is it Keith Stroud?
It's not Keith Stroud, no. Okay. Bear with me. I've got it here. I just want to make sure I'm getting it right. Yeah, it's Mr. Bond.
You are kidding me.
It's Darren Bond at Leicester.
Leicester.
Yeah, at the Leicester game. Yeah, the Premier League. Anyway, we'll cover that next week.
Yeah, cover that another day.
Cover that next week. Would you prefer Gavin Ward or Darren Bond, Mick?
Gavin Ward every day of every week.
I would as well.
Every week.
Yeah. Anyway, we do predictions. There we go. Sorry about the sound issues tonight. These two have had work issues tonight, so you're lucky we're here at all. There was almost a postponement of the podcast because these two have to, selfishly put their paid jobs before their voluntary roles. But we will have words. We'll see what we can do in future. We also keep an eye on our schedule because we don't know what we're going to do for the Christmas schedule, because obviously we would normally record on the 24th, which is a Sunday, which is obviously Christmas Eve. Chance of us recording at 8 o'clock on Christmas Eve is pretty slim. So we'll have to work out what's going to be a post-Leicester game. We'll keep an eye on the socials on that because we'll need a discussion. Boys, anything else? Anything else we need to mention? Anything, Danny? Have you muted your half the show?
I mean, I can show you the thing I'm taking home from work if you like, just to completely change the vibe.
While you do that.
No, I'll go and get it there with.
Dan's going to show us what he's been gifted by work. John Morrell says Christmas Eve is Saturday. No, Christmas Eve is a Sunday. So we play Leicester on the 23rd. We would obviously normally do the post-match reaction the day after. We don't know what we're doing. All this stuff, Mickey taking referees in a week when the referee's been thumped. Yeah, obviously we don't. That was terrible to see the guy in Turkey. I can't remember his name, but obviously that's a situation he's fixing. Embarrassing, and I think we're lucky that we'll never see that in the English game because I just don't think we will. But they need to make sure that as much protection as possible put in for referees from bottom to top. I mean, obviously you hear stories of amateur referees and things like that. We need to make sure the referees are protected. We can all joke about referees and say they're rubbish and this, that, and the other, but there are serious consequences, as you see in Turkey this week. So we're here to have a good laugh, but that wasn't obviously a laugh, no matter what happened in the week. Go on.
People need to grow up, really do. People do need to grow up, and you're right, it needs addressing from every angle, and one of those angles is IFAB or UEFA, whoever it is, who are complicating these rules and making it so difficult for referees to do the job, that they are essentially inviting mistakes from the referees, which then creates imbeciles like this, or creates situations where imbeciles like this can behave or do behave in the way that they did, and it's utterly outrageous that happened. And one of the ways is make the life of a referee easier by making the laws easier to implement. And then we take away some of the frustration that these people are incapable of keeping themselves together. That is in no way is that a way of excusing that sort of behaviour, because it's outrageous.
Yeah. On a more positive, Jan Bibber's in Iceland, looking for Kari Arnason. If you see Arnie, give him a wave. Give him a wave from us. Danny, what do you have?
Well, I'm going to take this home and try and restore it for the pub. It's an old brass beer tap.
Wow.
Complete with advertising ring for whatever brewery it is. So I'm going to take that home and try and restore it. It's really bloody heavy as well. So I'm going to put that there. So so no idea how old that is. But I'm going to try and restore it for the pub. Happy days, and I've been here 2 days.
There's one for the audio listeners.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for being with us tonight. Please make sure you've subscribed. The subscribership keeps going up and up and up. So thank you, everybody who has done that so far. Make sure you subscribe. We will be back on Sunday evening, which will obviously be the review of the Plymouth game. The scouting report has been done. That's ready to go. I'll probably upload it tomorrow. To schedule it out tomorrow afternoon sometime, which is with Joe from Argyle Life. I got his name wrong when I recorded, but his name is Joe. Who was lovely, nice chat with him. He gives us a lowdown on Plymouth, Stephen Schumacher, the players that might be playing, the players that won't be playing. Mikel Miller, we had a Mikel Miller chat, which I'm sure Mills will be interested in. Spoiler alert, he still gets injured quite a lot, sadly for him. But that's in there as well. That'll be up tomorrow at some point. Make sure you subscribe for that as well. If you're on iTunes, Spotify, make sure you've subscribed on wherever you're listening, iTunes, Spotify, whatever. Give us a 5-star rating if you can do already. And make sure to follow us on X and Facebook as well, where we have all our social media stuff. Mick, thank you very much. I appreciate the effort of turning up. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm going. I need something to eat now.
Yeah, I understand. And Danny, thank you very much, mate. I appreciate your effort as well, mate. It's always appreciated.
Yep, no worries at all, lads.
We'll see you all next time. Thank you for watching and open hours.
Slides into Wales through a goal, slots it beyond Fodringham, and the Millers are in front in the South Yorkshire derby. And for the first time in 42 years, Rotherham United win at Bramall Lane. On the edge of the box, the Dauphin, he can hit them, and he does. The Dauphin has scored an absolute screamer for Rotherham United. Rotherham United have secured their championship status for next season.
Do me a favor, drop me off